up to another good morning. Time to go. Oh, we are all looking for adventure. We are all looking for adventure. We are all
Welcome back to the 3x5 Live
podcast.
Our mission here is purpose-driven productivity. We talk about mindset, productivity, wellness.
Well-being, stress management, all the things.
Yeah, bunch of stuff.
Last
week we spoke about inflammation and digestion. I hope you got some tips out of that one. And this week we are talking about...
longevity.
So we're just kind of going on that theme.
We
Look at you.
We are. So I was talking about longevity with my grad students this week in a course, and it made me think about how this is information that I think is important for everybody.
Yeah, and you got a lot of questions about it, so.
I did get a lot of questions about it, because when you think about longevity, you know, all of us obviously are aiming right now to become like the healthiest versions of ourselves. But I think it's so important to look at when we were talking about legacy the other week, and we were talking about, you know, some of these practices that we're putting into place. What longevity essentially is daily habits that you're putting into your routine that are going to help you live the healthiest that you can for years and years and years to come. Yeah. So the longevity research that I use in my graduate class and somebody that I followed, actually, I think the first podcast I ever listened to was Dan Buettner. Rich Roll interviewed him. It was when I was before I was pregnant with Hadley.
And real quick here, so we're going to dive into longevity, but one thing I think about when I think about longevity is the quality of your years and your later years. So let's just say your cliff is at 90. How does that last 5-10 years of your life? Are you living a vibrant life then? Or are you, in a nursing home and yada, yada? I mean, it's really trying to create those years to be quality years later in life.
Right. And so that's the Dan Buettner, what I was talking about. He is responsible for this research. I think he was like a photographer writer for National Geographic.
I think so, yep.
And he was on assignment for National Geographic to go around the world. And what he did was he studied these pockets in the world that had the most concentrated number of centenarians, which is any people who are living above 100 years old are centenarians. Yep. And what he found was that these people weren't just living, right? Like the kind of like the Bryan was explaining, where they're sick and they're in the nursing homes and they're not feeling well. Like, these were people who were over 100 but were thriving and healthy. And so he studied, I think it was 5 pockets of the world that had this concentration. And what he tried to do was interview these people to try to pull out themes and consistencies that all of these people shared. And it's actually fascinating research. You should look it up if you haven't. But he found the 5 places were Loma Linda, California. I'll explain that one in a little bit. Nicoya, Costa Rica, Sardinia, Italy, Ikaria, Greece, and then Okinawa, Japan. And so he would interview couples as far as relationships were concerned. He would interview individuals and really sit with these people and go through their daily routines to figure out where they aligned. And some of those things were things like they move naturally, which is something we've talked about in the movement podcast, where these aren't people who are doing, HIIT workouts for 4 days or 5 days a week. These are people who use bikes to get from one location to the other, who garden or who take the stairs or who are just super active in their community. They go for walks every day. So they're out in nature. They really aren't, they're not sitting on the couch. They're moving constantly throughout their day. And that's something that, when we talk about movement, I think sometimes getting really clear on your best form of movement and then trying to pick little pieces of your day where you can include that. Take the stairs is something that people say all the time, but it's something small that you can do that allows that movement break in between to break up your day, I think is really, really important.
Which is a great book, by the way, Take the Stairs.
It is a great book. One thing that, and we've talked about purpose and passion here, but a lot of these people had a purpose, whether it was family given, it was something that they were working on through their families or what, in Okinawa, they call it ikigai. And that's their reason for getting up in the morning. So each of these cultures had a different name for it, but all of them had this greater purpose. In Okinawa, they actually put what their ikigai, which is their greatest purpose, why they wake up in the morning. They sometimes write it on an index card or something, and they put it on their nightstand so that when they wake up in the morning, it's the first thing that they see, and that's how they align the rest of their day. Another factor was downshifting. They're able to find periods every single day to rest and relax and recharge, which we're really horrible at.
Yes.
Because we are constantly stimulating. So like some of the cultures, like in Okinawa or Ikaria, Greece, they take naps. Like that's part of their culture. Everybody goes home. They have like siestas in the middle of the day and they take naps. You know, some of them do like happy hour with loved ones. Some of them focus that time on being with family members. So it's like that period of time every single day where they are relaxing and resting. Another thing we've talked about on the podcast. The 80% rule, which is like they've listened to their digestion and they only eat until they're 80% full. A lot of them have a plant slant to their diets, which means that they're eating a lot of plants, fruits, vegetables, whole foods like we've talked about before.
Yeah, things that they're gardening and picking up fresh that day.
Yes. This is a fun one. Most of them drink red wine. So if that's part of your repertoire, I mean, there's a lot of benefits to drinking red wine in small quantities. It does have like, tannin or resveratrol and different types of compounds in there that are good for longevity. But I think what they're experiencing is actually the fact that they don't drink like alone. It's community, right?
Yes.
They have these big like tables where their loved ones come and join, and then they're cheersing wine with each other in a very social setting. So it's that sense of community, which was a huge theme too. Like what they talk about how they treat their elderly. Like a lot of older family members live with them in their homes, which is great for the longevity of the elderly people, but it's also really beneficial for the children. So that sense of community, that sense of family, that sense of connection is really, really strong in these people. So, I mean, there's this idea of blue zones. If you're interested in it, it's really kind of all the things we've been talking about. But what is the underlying theme is the consistency of this and the natural just like affinity for it. It's very organic. It's not like, we are so strategic about like finding these points in time, but because it becomes part of their everyday, which is the idea of habits, right? And goals is to create this everyday flow where you're just feeling really good and vibrant and full of life. And so it doesn't become like this chore. It becomes what you do in order to feel your best for years and years and years and years and years to come.
Yes, exactly.
That was really long. Sorry.
And another little information source for longevity is Valter Longo, Dr. Valter Longo, and he studies longevity somewhere in California. I forget where exactly, but he's the leading researcher on actual longevity, and he has something that's called the fasting mimicking diet, and it's basically a week-long fast that you do, but you're consuming anywhere from 600 to 800 calories a day. And I did this probably about 1.5 to 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I did it for a week. Again, Bryan experimenting with
Yeah,
himself.
they give you like a box, right? Like with the food and the program and
And so, but your body is looking at the 600 to 800 calories as almost like water. So they did a ton of research on what you're eating so that I guess it just mimics the fast, but you're not actually doing a whole water fast for a week. And how he describes it as, which I thought painted a perfect picture, at least in my simple mind, is, a train going down the tracks. So when you are in a fasted state or you're starting to fast, and let's say you run out of coal on this train, well, what are you going to do? You're going to go around and find a broken chair and burn that. You're going to find the broken handrail and burn that. Whatever's easiest and broken and easily accessible, that's what you're going to start burning. And that's what happens in your body when you're fasting is basically it's looking for the weak cells and it's eating those, it's consuming those and getting rid of those and flushing them out of your system to allow the strong cells to thrive. So it's just something to think about because fasting is a very popular topic nowadays. People do a ton of intermittent fasting, or once a month they do a weekend fast, or then once a quarter they do a longer fast. So that really just kind of painted a good picture in my mind of what's happening during the fasting process. So if you're interested in his perspective, Valter Longo, I think it's called The Longevity Diet is the book that he released. So just some more information on that.
Yeah, the blue zones too, if you go to their website, I actually have my graduate students do this as an assignment, but there's a couple tests on there, like quizzes that you can take. One of them is like your longevity. They give you like present, I don't know, like some type of like guide to how, like, with your current lifestyle, what your longevity might look like. And then it gives you really like applicable tips on like how you could increase that by changing something with your diet or maybe with your movement or whatever that is. So is it a perfect quiz? I don't think so, but at least it gives you some self-awareness and a little snapshot into like what you currently are doing and what are some ideas and practices that you might be able to put into your daily routine. So I will link that in the show notes so you guys can take that if you want to. I always think that self-awareness is so important because it helps us get to that self-actualization process.
Yep.
Point.
So, hope you enjoyed. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, please do. Write us a review, share with a friend. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, like. If you haven't checked out the 3x5 Life product, it's at 3x5life.com. And have a fantastic
week.
See ya.
Take care.
Hello world, wake me up to another good